please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live.
Hey everybody. So as you've probably heard by now, one of the biggest fish in this year's free agency class, Taylor Hall, has signed. He signed last night with the Buffalo Sabres for 1 year at $8 million for next season. And I wanted to wait until today to do this video because I wanted some time to think about this before I said anything. This is a very interesting deal to say the least. And there's a lot to unpack here that I want to talk about. So before we fully get into it, I just ask that you please subscribe if you are new and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't yet. Both of those things really help out a lot and are much appreciated. So I just want to start by saying I am shocked that Taylor Hall went to Buffalo. This was not a team that many people expected him to be thinking about or going to. Buffalo is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in almost a decade now. Taylor Hall has said that he wanted to go somewhere where he could win and could contend for a Stanley Cup. I guess not. Clearly that's not the case, at least for this year. Now, it is only a 1-year deal, and I'm going to talk about that because I think I think I understand the motivation here behind this. But certainly this is not Taylor Hall wanting to win. This is Taylor Hall going to a team that has not won, anything anytime recently and hasn't even made the playoffs, never mind contend in the playoffs in almost a decade here. So the first thing that jumps out to me is just I'm shocked that he goes to Buffalo and that the whole I want to win, everything that he said over the past year plus about wanting to go somewhere where he can win clearly did not apply to his wasn't even true, I guess, or at least did not apply to his decision in this year's free agency. Because Buffalo is not a place that you go if you want to win. They're a losing team every year. What this is, in my opinion, is a cash grab from Taylor Hall. He got more money from Buffalo because they have the cap space. No contending team was going to give Taylor Hall $8 million per year. He went to Buffalo because they have the cap space to give him a big contract. It's only for 1 year, and he wants to play with Jack Eichel, put up big numbers this year playing alongside Eichel, and then next summer he's just a free agent again because it's only a 1-year deal, and he can sign a long-term contract at bigger money than what he would have gotten this year if he has a big year this coming season. So this really is a cash grab by Taylor Hall. This is a cash grab move where he wants to go out, up his value playing with Jack Eichel this year, put up big numbers, and then try again next year in free agency to get a long-term contract at a bigger cap hit than what he would have got this year because, quite frankly, I don't think contending teams were going to give Taylor Hall all that much more money than what he was making at $6 million per year. Contending teams can't just throw money around at players like that. You understand that that having a good team is far more important than having one talented player, and the top teams were not going to pay Taylor Hall what he got from Buffalo. Now, from a Buffalo perspective, I want to say that this deal makes a ton of sense from a Buffalo perspective. If you're a Sabres fan, the Sabres did good here. This makes all the sense in the world for them because it's virtually no risk. This is not a long-term deal like what they gave Jeff Skinner, which is going to end up being a horrendous contract. Already is, but is going to long-term be a serious problem for the Buffalo Sabres. This is not there's no risk here. This is not a problem contract for the Buffalo Sabres. Did they overpay Taylor Hall at $8 million per year? Absolutely. Does it matter? No, because it's a 1-year contract, and Buffalo is not up against the salary cap, not even really that close, so they don't have cap problems. They can afford to overpay Taylor Hall for this year, and it's only 1 season. So they get him for a year, and then he hits the free agent market again next season. There is absolutely no risk here from the Buffalo Sabres perspective. You're a losing team that hasn't made the playoffs in almost a decade. You go out, you pay big money for one season to bring in one of the most talented players on the free agent market to play with your superstar center in Jack Eichel, and you see what happens. And, that's going to be the Sabres' mindset going into this season, is we're just going to see what happens. What I don't exactly like necessarily is the full no movement clause in Hall's contract, because this would have made even more sense if Buffalo was just going to ship him out at the deadline and get a bunch of assets in return. Like, we saw what New Jersey got from Arizona for Hall at the trade, even before the trade deadline last season. Buffalo could have done the same thing and just shipped him out for, A-level prospects or a first-round pick. Or, Buffalo could have used him to make a really good move. Now, they did give Hall a no movement clause in his contract. So for Hall to be moved at the deadline, he would have to approve any deal that was made. He has full control, or he could just veto any trade and say, I'm staying in Buffalo for the year. So that doesn't help Buffalo's case. But again, this is a no-risk move for the Sabres. They bring in Taylor Hall for one season at an overinflated contract, but it doesn't matter because they're not up against the cap, and he gets to play with Jack Eichel. This is a no-risk. I mean, it's a great move from Buffalo. I'm surprised Hall would accept going to Buffalo, but it's a good move from a Sabres perspective. The last thing I want to talk about is people who think that Buffalo all of a sudden is good now or going to become a contending team. No, just stop. No. Adding Taylor Hall does not make you a playoff team. Adding Taylor Hall does not drastically change the Buffalo Sabres, because their biggest problems, while this certainly does help the Sabres, there's no doubt about that. Don't get me wrong here. This helps the Sabres, certainly offensively. Buffalo's biggest problem is defense and goaltending, and they've done really nothing this offseason to improve that. I actually kind of like Buffalo's forward group. I think with the additions of Eric Stahl and Cody Eakin down the middle, Hall on the wing, this is a decent forward group now for the Buffalo Sabres. Their defense is still one of the worst D-cores in the NHL, and their goaltending tandem is miles behind most of the rest of the league. So this does not make Buffalo a playoff team. You look at that division, you've got Tampa Bay significantly better, Boston significantly better, Toronto significantly better, Florida, if they can play any sort of defense, or Sergei Bobrovsky decides to stop any sort of pucks this year, significantly better. Montreal, with Carey Price in net, is probably still better than the Buffalo Sabres. So if you're Buffalo, maybe you beat out Montreal or Florida, one of them, not both, but one of them. At best, you're finishing 5th in the division. At worst, you're probably finishing 7th. You have a pretty good chance of finishing 6th again like you did last year. And you still have to worry about the Metro teams, and we don't even know if 3 or 4 teams from the Atlantic are going to make the playoffs. It might only be 3, depending on how good the Metro is again next year. So, again, I don't see Buffalo making the playoffs. I don't see this drastically changing them enough for them to be a playoff team. And I think when you look at Taylor Hall, he's a good player. There's no doubt about that. He's only made the playoffs twice in his career. His MVP season in 2018 with the New Jersey Devils, and last year with Arizona. And the only reason Arizona even made the playoffs last year was because of the 24-team format. If the season had continued normally and only 16 teams made the playoffs, Arizona was not getting in the Western Conference. They were like, they had like 4 teams to jump over for them to get into a playoff spot. It wasn't going to happen. They were not going to make the playoffs last year. The 24-team format saved them. So Taylor Hall's really only made the playoffs once in his career. It was with New Jersey in 2018, and that was his MVP season. And even with him having an MVP season, New Jersey was a wild card team that got spanked in the first round by the Tampa Bay Lightning and lost in 5 games. So adding Taylor Hall is a good move for the Buffalo Sabres, and it helps out Jack Eichel a lot. But it doesn't drastically change the Sabres. And I still don't see them jumping teams like Toronto or Florida and becoming a playoff team in the Atlantic. I just don't. They still have major defensive problems. They still don't have a good goaltending, and those are issues that this does nothing to address. So while it is really good for the Sabres to go out and get a big name like Taylor Hall and bring in a star player who can play with Jack Eichel and put up big points, I don't see it drastically changing the Sabres season next season. And we've seen dynamic duos in the past not necessarily mean that you're going to be a good team. I mean, just look at the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers have had Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid as a duo for a while now, and they missed the playoffs in 2018. They missed the playoffs in 2019. They made the playoffs last year, but missed it the 2 previous years with Draisaitl and McDavid on the roster. And McDavid and Draisaitl is a significantly better duo than Hall and Eichel. I mean, McDavid is the best player in the league. Draisaitl had an MVP season last year, is definitely a top 5 player in the league. Taylor Hall's not a top 5 player in the league. Taylor Hall's probably not even a top 10 player in the league. Jack Eichel is, but Taylor Hall isn't. Duo-wise, McDavid and Draisaitl are better than Hall and Eichel. And they missed the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. So, again, I don't see this drastically changing the Sabres season, but it is a good move for them. It's virtually no risk. They get a really good player. He's going to put up numbers with Jack Eichel. But this is a cash grab move from Taylor Hall to make as much money as he can this season, put up big numbers playing with Jack Eichel in Buffalo, and then hit the free agent market next season and try and get a bigger long-term contract from someone else. I don't see him staying in Buffalo beyond this year. So that's my opinion on the Taylor Hall signing. There's a lot to talk about there. Again, that's just what I think on it. And that pretty much does it for this video. So like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store and donation link are down in the description below as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.